Anyway, hi there. Welcome to episode 5?
Six, yeah.
I feel like the first one was pretty terrible, though, so we're trying to get away from that.
Yeah, probably 5 then.
And this week's guest is Steve Bate, Paralympic gold, bronze medalist.
There we go.
Tandem.
On the tandem,
On the tandem.
So we're just going to fire through the news quickly. And but there's not too much news this week.
No, because the last podcast we've done was Thursday. So it's only been really 4 days.
Oh,
5 days.
You've tried to cheat all of your YouTube subscribers into recycling old content and presenting it as new content.
You know, I just wanted to get some more views and listeners for the podcast, so I thought it would be quite a good way.
So basically what he's done is he took like a 2-minute section where Owen Doull talks about his diet, and then he's posted a picture of all of like Chris Froome, who isn't in the video at all, Chris Lawless, who isn't in the video at all, and Owen Doull with their arms around each other at a Tour de Yorkshire, and then put it up saying like super secret Team Sky / Ineos diet tips.
So do you know why? Because the photo I had of Doull didn't fit on my YouTube as a thumbnail. It was too big.
Well, you don't know how to crop.
I couldn't work it now. So the only photo I could find of Doull and Team Ineos kit was this photo. That's why I took it. And I used it a bit for clickbaiting people into clicking on the video.
Sounds legit to me. Sounds like
How many thumbs down have you got?
Just a few.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
I remember when he first started doing the vlogs, I noticed after like maybe 5-6 episodes, I just like looked through them all and was like, there's not a single thumbs down.
So
it really annoyed you, didn't it? It really annoyed you.
And then I was like, that's just not possible. So I tweeted it out saying, oh, it's really good. It's really good to see Phil Hines doesn't have a single thumbs down. And then they came flooding in after that. Just it was
I
like
only got a few. They didn't come flooding in.
It was like a red flag to the bull for the trolls. It was brilliant.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, no worries. The other news was that in the last podcast, we created a slightly awkward moment where I revealed to Vicky Williamson that Kian Emadi used to have a little bit of a thing.
He did, yeah.
For her.
How did he react to it? Because I haven't spoken to him since.
He was like, at first he said, oh God, no. And then he was like, oh, that's okay. So I think it's fine.
Yeah. I saw Vicky live in the velodrome yesterday, I think. And she was laughing about it, so it was quite entertaining, really.
Yeah.
Great content.
It's all good.
All good.
Vicky's all over the gossip at the moment anyway. She's loving it.
You've got
Is she?
a little bit of gossip going on, haven't you?
It's a secret though. I can't say anything right now.
Yeah.
Is it that you have always wanted to come to my house?
I have
Is
actually.
it?
And we should talk about the place.
Strong feelings.
It's a beautiful part of the world. Are we in Yorkshire?
We are West Yorkshire.
Yorkshire. And
that was worse than my. That was worse than my impression.
Anyway, all we can do is scouse and swearing words, and that's it. But so we're in beautiful Yorkshire.
Yeah, indeed. Sun is shining. That's news.
That is news.
Yeah.
Have you got any more news before we crack on to the main feature?
Not really. No.
Oh, right. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I've not been up to much, to be honest.
Oh, you've got a back injury.
I have got a back injury,
That's
which
big
is
news.
so. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. So no, the guys are out in Belgium at the moment at the second round of the World Cup Series. So Adam and I are missing that, which is actually the first race we've missed when we haven't been selected. So happy days.
Oh, fair.
At least you're enjoying the sun all year.
Well, yeah. It's a bit. I'm moving around now and much more more freely, I suppose. So it's nice to have a little.
I think sometimes a bit of force less can be quite good. I know some people don't deal with it well at all. I think Phil and I probably deal with it quite well. We like a little bit of time off.
I think
some people get
thing's a sprinters thing, isn't that?
Yeah.
Like endurance, you're kind of not into that sort of thing. But
But some people come back absolutely flying after they've had some force rest. It's interesting how the body reacts with a good.
I think it might be a bit different with endurance guys. I think they start going pretty slow if they have like 5-6 days off, don't they? And I speak to Adam Duggleby about it. They're always
cheers, Phil. That's
very scared about it.
that's made me feel great about myself.
You've got an endurance side of the right here.
You've got time to train. It's no worries.
It'll all be fine.
Indeed, yeah. Well,
Tokyo's only just around the corner. I mean, very far away in the distance.
And you're training again, so far.
Yeah. But first session back today, so steady away on the fat bike. So yeah, happy days.
No, fair enough.
Sun shining, riding your bike. What could be bad about that?
So, in the grand scheme of things, I guess your relationship, your kind of role with British cycling is quite new, I guess. So you weren't always a cyclist.
Oh no. I still don't think I am, to be fair.
Okay.
It's a bit. I've got a not a love-hate relationship. Like, I love riding my bike. It's fantastic, and obviously to make it your job and be paid for it's pretty cool. But I guess I've been on the pro now for 5.5 years, and yeah, I think if Tokyo wasn't, kind of just under 2 years away, I'd be trying to do something else, I think.
Because it's always quite a new thing with like Vicky didn't go through a regular path to get on the team. So can you talk us through how you first got involved with the team, I guess?
Yeah, so I had this eye condition. I was diagnosed with that at, I think I was 35 at the time. So I was told that worst case scenario was I was going to go blind in 4 years. Lost my driver's license instantly, which was pretty shit. And my dream back then was to become a mountain guide and climb big mountains, basically. And that all went down the shitter.
Oh.
And it was actually a friend, Karen Darke, who's also on the team, hand cyclist. Karen, I'd been friends with Karen for years, and when I told her that I was going to go, potentially going to go blind, her reaction was, "Great, you can ride on the back of a tandem. Come ride with me in Mallorca. Life's good." And I was just kind of like, "No, you don't get it, Karen. Like, my life's over. All the adventure stuff, all that is all gone." And she said, "Don't be a dick. Come on, like, get stuck in." So
it's a bit of tough love, that, isn't it? I guess?
Yeah. It's probably what I needed, though, to be fair. And then it took me about a year I had a bit of a climbing thing going on at the time. So once I got that sorted, I got in contact with British Cycling. Went to a Para Talent ID Day, and it kind of went from there, really.
Oh, fair enough. So explain a little bit more of that kind of love-hate relationship with cycling then, I guess. So I guess obviously you're like previously really active guy, really into outdoors, so I guess that's the love angle. So where's the kind of little bit of the downside to it, I guess?
I think is as you guys will know, you're very restricted, aren't you? If you want to compete on the world stage, you're very single-minded, very focused. You can't sit here doing PodCrash, drinking beer, can you? It's
outrageous, Phil.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to be very focused, and obviously that takes you, that focus takes you away from other things with your wife and other adventurous stuff that I'm obviously very passionate about.
I guess I always kind of put it down to the race calendar, but it seems like the Paralympians have a little bit more flexibility than the able-bodied guys in terms of the race schedule. I think if you've got, maybe it's different with the road, but it's definitely with the trackies. Like sometimes they wouldn't even have a world championships. Yeah. And I always find that really hard to kind of, because obviously you say if you want to be the best, you have to have that commitment and drive. But if you go a couple of years without racing at all, it must just start to knock you a bit. So, I don't know. Do you feel like you have a little bit more flexibility than some of the other guys?
Yeah, I mean probably a lot. Certainly the guys that ride the track, they're living the dream. Really, I should have been a sprinter, para sprinter. Would have been the way forward, I reckon. Race twice a year and happy days. But no, with the road as well, it's kind of, it's pretty crazy. But thankfully to the the management of BC here, they've really got the qualifying points for Tokyo right this year. The first cycle I came into halfway through, and it was all a bit chaotic with qualifying spaces for people to go, and it was kind of a bit cutthroat, where this time I think the guys have done really well to get that worked out early on, and we're looking at a really healthy place to take a really good squad. So we can kind of pick and choose races from here on in, which obviously for your form and kind of testing yourself is ideal, instead of just being thrown into every single race to get as many points as you can. And I guess now where Adam and I are proven, we've got a track record now that we can deliver performances. So it's where the first couple of years, you just like getting thrown at everything and you're expected to do really well in everything to progress, and it was all pretty full on, where now we've got the luxury of kind of having that track record and people are a bit more relaxed.
We had to go to every single World Cup before Rio, didn't we? To
that's
points.
Yeah.
And we were always thinking, like, if you mess up this competition, we would be struggling to actually qualify for the Olympics. So it was quite a stressful period, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, it is. So I was kind of thinking of, I guess one of my questions is that, obviously you guys won in the individual pursuit and the road race and the road TT, but as from Duggleby's, Adam Duggleby, your pilot, means the front guy in the tandem who steers it, but also pedals, which is a nice benefit as well.
Bonus.
Yeah. you're. It seems like both of you train a lot longer than those actual events. Like I see Duggleby doing 100 mile TTs. Like what's the kind of longest event you've ever done in one go? I've seen some crazy statistics, like riding through the night and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think probably the longest without kind of, I say stopping, was probably riding the length of Scotland last year. So it was about I think it was 501 kilometres in about 20 hours straight.
Jeez. So both of you are kind of loving the distance, it's fair to say.
Yeah. I think that side of things, I think my physiology certainly is suited to that more than kind of, sprinting type stuff, which has obviously led me down the endurance path. That might be an age thing as well. But yeah, both of us, just miles, like we both go well off having a good amount of miles under the belt and topping that with topping up with some pretty hard interval sessions. And
I guess that leads me on to my next question, because it obviously seems to work for you guys pretty well, putting in that kind of distance. But the way that, I guess one of the comparisons is, especially with TP, not so much with IP, but with TP, it seems like some of the training those guys are doing these days is really similar to almost what the sprinters would have done a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Seems to be getting like so fast and so short.
It's crazy, isn't it?
How's that manifesting in the para side?
I think because we don't have kind of TP stuff. So yeah, but it's all, I mean, I think now where everyone's looking at in terms of pursuiting is it is a sprint event really, isn't it? You're out the gate, you're into the red, and you're hanging on. So there's a lot more gym-based stuff, high intensive stuff. So
and do you enjoy that angle, or?
Yeah, the great thing about that is it's over and done with just over 4 minutes. It's not like a road race where anything can happen. You could ride out and everyone could just be steady away for the first hour. Or it could just, the shit could hit the fan in the first 20 minutes and you're in the red for the rest of the race, chasing on or whatever. So, it's very prescribed, isn't it? Riding the track, it's very kind of, and those individual kind of events, obviously not in your sprinting Karen events and stuff like that. But
a lot of the TP guys struggle to actually go well on the road. So,
well, it's becoming so specific these days, I think.
So for you to do both, it's actually probably quite hard to manage, because you need to have some kind of fast twitch to go well in the IP, and then you need to have the endurance for the road. So a lot of the TP guys, like Adam, them, they're terrible on the road compared to like the
and some of the good road guys are struggling just to get on now as well. Yeah, it's a funny old balance. So I guess it's your introduction to cycling is probably a little bit of a kind of love-hate thing almost, because obviously you got this pretty disruptive diagnosis, I guess.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, as Callum gave you with a tough love, it opened a few doors as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, it's one of those things when I look back and, for the first 3 to 4 months after having that diagnosis, losing my license, I was pretty miserable to be around, I think would be a fair way to explain it. But I think after that, when you start to look at the things you can do and not the things you can't do, and the doors that has opened, and that's what led me down the line of going to a games. I think just the opportunity to get to a games was like, hey, why wouldn't you want to do that? Just as a kid, I've always been interested in what I can do with my body. It's our greatest asset. We get given it, and so often people neglect what you're given. And I've always been, always wondered growing up if I had all the support and one goal, could I be the best in the world? And I thought that had passed me by. So to be given that opportunity at 35, I jumped at the chance and took it, and turns out, I went all right.
So I guess as a kid you were breaking a few bones.
Not really,
not so
to be honest.
Oh, okay.
No, not really. I was pretty lazy as a kid. I didn't, I never won anything as a kid. I didn't, I never played in a top sports team at school. That was all my brother. Like my brother went down that route, top of the class, head boy, kind of ducks of the school, top academically.
What a dick.
Captain of the sports team. Oh, the guy you hate. Yeah. And unfortunately happens to be my brother. And I had to follow him through school, which was even worse. But I guess looking back at it now, it's probably pretty inspirational. Even though I detested going wherever he went and stuff, it's like your brother's the cool guy, and so you kind of get carried along with that. And I guess I got cut a lot of slack because my brother was Adam Bate, and so you can just go around and dick about and do whatever you want, and no one really gives you much grief because you're Alan's brother.
I think that's quite an interesting thing because like I was always shit at school sports days and like gym, and I hated PE and all this kind of stuff. But then I think that's just that thing for everyone. It's like everyone has an ability within them to do something physical, I think. And whether that's like short twitch muscle, fast twitch muscle, endurance, sprint, or whatever, like I think everyone has a niche out there. It's just about finding it. And to be honest, growing up in Scotland, you've pretty much got the option of football, and that's it.
Yeah.
And if you're shit at that, you're shit at everything, basically.
Yeah. It's a bit like that in New Zealand, to be honest. It's just rugby, isn't it? Like it's the same
I was
same
a little
sort
bit
of
better
thing.
than that, Did you have school sports day in Germany?
Yeah, we did. Well, it wasn't as advanced as the UK, where we tried different sports. Now you see like schools coming to the velodrome doing track sessions. You just did your normal athletics sports day, and then that's it. And no one really cared. Football was the main thing, like in Scotland. But I found rowing and followed my brother into his footsteps. He was German champion, and I always wanted to become a rower, but unfortunately I wasn't tall enough, so I got put into the boats to Cox.
That's
so,
it. Down to the
really?
ground, isn't it?
So I was pretty devastated with it and started cycling because of that reason. And then when I was 14, 15, picked up my uncle's steer road bike and just started cycling and joined local cycling clubs. And
I would have thought you would have loved being a Cox.
No, I hated it. I liked it sometimes when it was cold and you didn't, your fingers are burning rowing. But no, I hated it. And I was like devastated because I had on the erg I was the strongest guy, but because I wasn't tall enough, they just put me in the boats to Cox, and I had enough of it and switched to cycling. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about New Zealand, I guess. So obviously you're quite proud of your New Zealand heritage, hence the tattoos and things like that. So I guess when did you come over to the UK and how did that whole transition from lighting, I guess from growing up in New Zealand to end up lighting for GB?
Yeah, I moved to the UK. Well, I didn't actually move. I came over here on holiday in 2000. So my brother had left 6 months before I had.
Okay.
And so I was basically coming over here before I trained as a carpenter. That's what I did, built houses. And so before I built my own house in New Zealand, I said to my dad, maybe I should go and see what Alan's up to over in London, because he was having a right laugh.
Okay.
And he said, go and do that. The house will always be there. And so I basically booked a ticket. Plan was to come across here for 6 to 8 weeks, catch up with my brother, see what was happening, go home, carry on life as normal, and I'm still here. I just decided that, after I think we arrived here in July, we went to Spain for running the bulls. Then in October went to Germany for Bearfest, to Munich, and I was just like, this is mental. So I basically spent, I think, my entire savings for buying a house with my brother and I not working in pretty much a year.
How old were you at the time?
Living in London, 22, I think.
Oh, fair play.
So it was good times. It was really good fun. And then all of a sudden I thought, shit, I need to do something here because I'm running out of money really quickly. So I just started working in London as a carpenter, made really good money, and I just found the passion for traveling really, and exploring different cultures and seeing new things, and basically going on these wild kind of, like running the bulls and stuff like that. It's just mental. So
I think that's also something that's like really interesting within the para team, is you get a lot of athletes in there who have done other things. Whereas with the able-bodied, a lot of them have never had a real job in their life.
It's a pathway, isn't it?
It's a pathway,
you picked up I guess, and this is being stereotypical, I suppose, you picked up as a junior, when you show talent or you've done it more than anyone else, whatever, and you're kind of in that system. Whereas, the para guys are really interesting because it's just a random mix of people and how they've got onto that squad. Everyone's got a different story, so it's pretty cool.
And some of the army guys, like, stepping on mines and things like that, and telling their mates to get away and all that kind of stuff. It's
holidays in Thailand.
Or holidays in Thailand where they get into trouble.
It's pretty interesting when
if
you
sit
down with them.
If you're listening now, you know who you are. So I guess that's probably somewhere where you have a bit of crossover, because, like, not to say that you switch nationalities, but both of you have kind of grown up in a different country to the UK. But I'd say you've probably had a little bit of a different experience. It's not always been totally positive within the press, like having you come from Germany, I guess.
No, I got quite a lot of slug, didn't I? Being called a plastic Brit. That was a big thing before the London Olympics, about how many non-British-born people.
Yeah. Won gold medals, I believe.
Yeah, or even like are in the Olympics
medals,
competing for Great Britain.
Yeah.
But not everyone gets the choice to actually be born in
that's
Britain.
Right. Yeah.
And my dad is British, was based in Germany with the British Army, and that's why I've grown up in Germany. And
Well, has your experience been pretty positive on the whole, I guess?
Yeah, to be honest, it's not like there was it was funny because when I moved, I think when I first got my citizenship and nationality, there was kind of this question that almost like the media at the time were asking about, well, are you Scottish or are you English? And I was living in Scotland at the time, so that was quite a funny thing. And I'm very, I'd lived in Scotland for 12 years, so I'm very passionate about living in Scotland. But I didn't really want to, just be, my grandfather's English, which is why I've got an ancestry visa to be here in the first place. Yeah. For as long as I was. So yeah, it was just a bit weird. People are like, so what are you going to be? And it's like, well, I'm a Kiwi. That's where I was born. But so now I just sound British now. It's easier to
Well, you had that same question with Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had the choice to choose who I wanted to ride for.
Yeah,
haven't been asked directly because if you're in British cycling, you just go to England really because Scotland is like the individual.
Well, Scotland's a lot more fun though.
Yeah,
we have a great time.
Yeah,
hey, if you're in any doubt with that, look at the Gold Coast vlogs from you. Look at the Gold Coast vlogs from me.
I was going to say, it looked like you boys went out there to ride bikes.
We had a hell of a time.
Yeah, it looked a lot more fun with the Scottish team. But I had the choice to choose where I wanted to ride. Chose England, picked up a silver medal.
Yeah, and you immediately became more annoying as soon as you went with that as well. You're like, England!
Did you have the choice to choose?
I think we got offered to go to the commies, Adam and I, but I kind of turned it down because we don't. Pursuiting's not an event there. It's just the tandem sprint stuff that's there, and when you got guys like Matt and Neil and Pete and James who are obviously our teammates, and that's what they do, and I didn't want to go out there just to participate. Yeah, just to, and as well, I think it was, we had our worlds. I think 3 weeks before that, so the guys went straight from Rio straight to the Gold Coast. So I think it was going to be a trip away for about 6 or 7 weeks, and I just wasn't into it really.
Yeah,
it would have been a great holiday, but then would have felt guilty with my wife. Back here working, trying to look after the dog and balance everything while I was just having a jolly, which is what it would have been really. Because
you just have to tell her you're really, really busy and it's really hard work.
Exactly.
I've tried that before, mate. She sees through that now. she knows cycling's a con.
Oh, she got into it now.
Yeah.
I was like, it's probably when I tried to do the lead hook crit. I even managed to convince myself I might be competitive. and then within 2 laps, I was like, absolutely not.
Got dropped straight away.
But I may as well just go to this rooftop bar in Brooklyn and enjoy it while I'm here.
Yeah.
That's funny. So we're going to have a quick break now and reset the camera. So apologies last week where we had no video last time. Actually, if you watched the whole thing, you would have realised the video cut off. So Phil wants to say sorry for that.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't reformat the card.
So we'll be right back.
So I spoke to Duggleby, and he really wanted to know who is faster, you or Duggleby.
I would think I'd think Adam's quicker.
You think?
Yeah, I reckon so. Yeah. Numbers wise, I think I produce more power, but I'm slightly heavier. I think power to weight, he's probably slightly edging me.
Yeah.
But he's had 17 years of experience. I've been doing this for 5. Like, what's he been messing around at?
He's been doing it since he's been 15 or something, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he's not going to stop until he's going to be in all the Masters categories until the day he dies, isn't he?
Yeah. He's TTing. Like, they love him at TTs. It's hilarious. Like, when we started racing together, I'd turn up at a TT and people would just be like in awe of him. It's like, oh, all right, Adam, all these old boys and stuff, properly.
Is he like a hero there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So that's why he thinks he's the dog's bollocks when he walks into track.
Yeah, clearly.
He gets all these old boys picking him up.
Yeah. It was a really weird thing, and then you'd so like for the first year, I suppose we rode together. Just turn up and what are you going to do today? Adam goes, and Adam would be like, oh, I'm riding the tandem with this guy. He's power and stuff. So yeah, I'm riding for GB now and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, all these ones, and then we'd go out, twat it round, generally break a course record, do whatever, and come back. And, I'd just stand in the background while they were all like in awe of Adam. And then the funniest one actually was when we went to Wales to the Fast 25 course to get the 25 national record, which I think was held by Hutchinson and Yates. Sean Yates. So, pretty decent combo, to be fair. And we got out the car there, pulled the tandem out. Adam had raced a 10 the day before, drove down to Wales. It was an early start. And there was a couple of women in the car next to us, pulled the tandem out, and they were like, oh, we were here when Yates and Hutch got the record, and you won't beat that. They did 70 mile an hour down the hill across a roundabout, and Adam being Adam, like, for those of you who know Adam, was just super blunt. He's like, he's proper Yorkshire. And he was like, that's what I've come to get. And they're like, oh, you won't get that, and he's like, we'll see about that. And we did break their record, which was pretty funny. And then in the clubhouse afterwards, everyone was walking up to the board, and like in TTs are so eccentric, there's a board up with times on it and things like that, and people walking up going, and then turning around to the owner, I was like, is this a mistake? I think that's a course record. Is this a mistake? Who are these guys? And at that point, I think we'd just been issued with the Rio kit and stuff, which we're allowed to wear the games kit, leisure wear, and so I think Adam probably had a hoodie on or something. It's like, these two are going to the games.
He's
and
always
got
something on the go.
There we go.
He's wearing the whole outfit.
That's he goes to Asda in the whole outfit.
Oh, cool. No, you're fine. That's all right. Lovely neighbour.
Hello.
Got a parcel.
We've always got interruptions at some point. It's fine.
So it's pretty funny. Like he's a proper icon on the TT scene, Adam, and he's a to be fair, he's a weapon.
I didn't actually know that well. I just thought he had amazing self-confidence. The member at the British Cycling Dinner once probably sums him up.
I think it's just how he is.
He'd had quite a bit.
Did he get hammered?
He got absolutely slaughtered, and it was in the hill. It was in the grand ballroom in the Hilton.
That was the
massive.
That was the gala, wasn't it? After the game, he was hammered there,
and he was very happy with himself for. I think he had an MBE by that point as well. It'd gone to his head, and this ballroom must have sat a couple hundred people at tables.
That was massive, wasn't it?
And I was we were literally pretty much at either end, and he shouts at me and goes, oh, it's Callum, you fucking C-word. Across the whole place. We got journals there, you got HSBC was there, all the rest of it. And then all of a sudden you just see him getting shoveled away by John Pett at the end of it.
I think that night he was trying to, his goal that night for whatever reason was he was trying to lick John Norfolk's face. So John Norfolk, for those of you who don't know, was our head coach for Para. And so all night I think Adam was trying to lick his face. So
how old is he?
Adam or John?
Adam.
Good question. About I want to say 33 or 34.
You'd say you guys work together pretty well as a team, though.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think. He's amazing on the front of a tandem. There's people that can ride a bike, but I think Adam had been riding a tandem with his dad for quite a few years. So he, naturally, I guess he's just he's very strong. He's very short and stocky.
Because I've always found it quite impressive. It's to ride a tandem on the back. I'm not a very good passenger on the back of a tandem. I always try and steal it. But to be visually impaired and on the back, and to invest that much trust in someone, especially on a road course, going at 70 miles an hour probably on some of the descents, because that's going to be some mass. It's quite a trusting situation to be in, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
Or do you just switch your brain off to it a bit?
Yeah, I guess because I've never raced solo. I've never had that, that feeling of control, I guess. So, my experience of racing bikes is on the back of a tandem. So I've never had that issue of I wonder what it'd be like to, do everything. And, a big part of that, and certainly this sort of sums up, not that I want to blow any more hot air up his ass, because, I've already said he's really good, but just before the World Road Worlds in Switzerland in 2015, I think it was. It might have been 2016, the games. No, it must have been 2015. It was a really horrible hilly course, and we were out in Yorkshire at home on the tandem training, and we're going down an ascent. I can't remember which one it was. Crazy fast ascent, couple of twists in the road. And Adam had said at the top, we're out to do 100 miles that day. I think we'd done about 60 odd miles. We're heading back, and Adam said, we'll get the Strava on this descent, because Adam Duggleby is a lover of Strava.
Does he drive to segments, roll up, like warm up on the rollers, then just do that single segment when he gets the wind?
No, he's hardcore. He'll ride out. So,
Oh,
he'll definitely ride out. Yeah, he's not a cheat. He'll pick the tailwind and ride out to it. But he said, we'll get the segment on the descent on this, and so we cracked on a tandem, and we actually double punctured on the descent. His Strava file shows we were on 50 mile an hour on the tandem when we double punctured, and I remember saying to him, I remember the front of the bike going a bit crazy. And I remember saying to him, like, I had no idea what had happened. I was just like, just let it roll, mate. It'll be fine. And he's like, we're going to fucking die. But he was, so we went, and there was a corner coming up. It was pretty clear we weren't going to make it round the corner at the speed we were going with the front flat tyre. And there was a car coming the other way on a motorbike. And I remember when I realised what was happening, looking over his shoulder and seeing an oncoming car on a motorbike, and I just thought, this is going to be it. This is game over.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the car was paying attention, saw what was happening, so they slowed down, so the motorbike, and we went straight across the white line, straight in front of this car, and we actually binned it when we hit the white line on the other side of the road. And randomly, we got chucked into the dirt bank, so we missed out, sliding down the road for quite a while. Adam had slowed it down to about 25 miles an hour when we hit the deck. And he was actually he ripped his calf. It was quite bad. My knuckle got ripped open because it was under the handlebar when it hit the deck. But, it was pretty bad. We couldn't ride the bike. His dad had to come and get us because the bike was unrideable. It was wasted. So it was a bit of a fright. Fast forward 2 months, and we're on the course at the Worlds, which has got the worst descent I've ever ridden on a tandem. 65, 70 miles an hour. And really fast descent, turns in it, and Adam was flat out down it. Not a second thought, and just full on. And when we got to the top of that, I was, like, when we went through it in training, we melted a front carbon wheel. The Polish girls' tandem melted a rear disc on it. So it was bad, not a safe course to ride on a tandem. But Adam was just, really professional and, just committed 100%. And, careering down that hill, going around these corners tucked in behind him. I couldn't see what was coming, and I was just thinking in my head, I don't know what's worse, being on the back not in control, or being on the front and having the responsibility, knowing that if we crash, you're going to have a guy who's 80 kilos come slamming into the back of you. So I don't know what's worse, but full credit to the guy, because
I think that's the funny thing, because I think when they used to do tandem racing able-bodied predominantly. There'd be like a tandem sprint world championships in the, I think it maybe stopped at about the early 80s or something like that. But I think now, like, the physiology of a lot of the Paralympic riders is so strong that, like, they're really pushing these bikes to the limit. Like, you see, like, Neil and Pete snapping a carbon frame in half.
Yeah.
You've seen, like, they
wiped out at the Worlds, didn't they? They slid out or something.
Yeah. There's the famous one with Barney Stowley and the disintegrating wheel.
That's right. Yeah, that's frightening, isn't it? That
it's like I think we on solo bikes push the limits enough for, like, what the materials can handle. But then when you guys get on bikes, and it's still like, you're 80k on the back, Duggleby about 70k on the front, something like
85.
There's a lot of force going through those bikes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'd like to give it a go. Tandem. Never been on one.
I did the tandem sprint championships once.
How did it go?
Badly.
Who did you do it with?
Do you know Bruce Crowe?
Yes, I know.
Yeah. More famously known for...
How did you not... Why did it go badly? You're pretty strong riders.
Well, because we both thought we were in charge, even though I was definitely in charge.
So you were you were on the front.
I was on the front stealing, which is weird because at the time I was like 16 years old and I've got this like 30-year-old man on the back. It shows how much he kind of valued his own bike handling skills. I
don't blame him, to be fair.
Yeah, but I just remember like because he always liked to go early and I didn't. So I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden, like the bike's just taking off, and he's putting down like 2,000 watts behind me. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Slow down. Like, not yet. And he's like, we have to go now. And then, like, obviously we got absolutely dicked on by the actual tandem leaders that were there. But it's good fun, but it's amazing. I think it's one of the great things about Paralympic cycling is that it keeps that discipline alive. It's been taken out the able-bodied, and now the para guys are owning it, and it's something that's really good to watch. It's a bit of a shame that the sprint event's been taken out of the games.
Yeah, that is a shame. I mean, this year at the Worlds, I normally don't watch that sprint on the Sunday, and I normally don't watch that because my race is done, and I'm
pissed.
If only. No, but I went in and watched the guys and girls racing, and shout out to Helen Scott and Sophie Thornwell, because like they are masters at the sprint stuff. Like just so efficient, cruise through the rounds, and it was just awesome to watch. It was really impressive and really inspiring to and obviously you got Matt and Neil and Pete and James who are just smashing everyone, and well then they smashed themselves unfortunately. But it was pretty amazing. There's always, as you guys know, there's always a lot of banter that gets flown around through what's harder, endurance or sprinting and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're still trying to find out the answer.
Yeah, I think to be fair, I've ridden a kilo and I didn't like it. So
okay,
I reckon,
that's good.
It's the first person ever.
I know we're building this up slowly.
First ever endurance rider.
Well, Kian Emadi's done both, and he said that
TP is harder.
No, he said it's different. So it's
that's sitting on the fence, isn't it?
Yeah, he's like, when you're a sprinter, it's all like neuro fatigue, so you just feel like stiff and you can't move, and everything's a bit of a struggle. And then when you're an endurance rider, you're just fucked the whole time.
Yeah,
you're just tired.
Yeah, you just fatigue. You'd never, the best stuff out in 5 years of riding was a week before the games, which is obviously when you want to feel good. But it was that that feeling of every day you wake up, just like you feel like you've got energy. It's like, oh wow, I feel good today. Skip down the food hall. This is great.
And that's one of the best things about being retired is like you can wake up in the morning and just decide not to do gym. Like, I'm a bit tired today.
I can see it.
Get yours out then.
Yeah.
So let's round off the cycle chat before we get into all the crazy and wonderful things that you do as well. So talk us through that Rio moment, because obviously it'd been quite a journey. Did it feel like a little bit of, not redemption, but did it feel like, because obviously like the circumstances of coming into cycling were quite damaging, I guess. Like they're quite emotionally difficult. Yeah,
I think by that point where I'd when I got the call to come back to the to a second Talent Day, and that was that it was just the opportunity to go to a games. It was worth committing to, and so I left my job. My wife left her job. We moved down here because that's be close to the velodrome, because that was the only way it was going to work really. So I think at that point, I had 2.5 years. I think when I started riding with Adam, we had 2.5 years. So I rode with Jason Quealy for a few months before that, which was ace. Like,
what a pleasure.
Yeah. Like, that guy's a legend. Got a lot of time for Jace. It was just 2.5 years, and it was at that point it was just, can I become a Paralympian? A gold medal wasn't even. It was just like, can I get to a games? That'd be amazing. Just to call yourself a Paralympian would be awesome. And then obviously that happened. You get named in the squad, and then straight away your mind changes. You're like, well, that's not enough. That's not enough anymore. My wife couldn't believe how quickly I went from, that was a 2.5 year goal to make that squad, to literally as soon as the phone call went down to say, yep, you're in the team, I have to win a medal. It was just instantly, it's like, I've got this far. The next thing is I have to go and win a medal. And I'd like to say it didn't matter. I didn't care what colour it was. And I was probably right up into, with that in my thoughts until the holding camp. And in the holding camp, we rode a full race day prep, as you guys know, in Newport, and we broke the world record in that training run. And then I think the realisation happened that actually we got a real sniff, and we got a chance at not only winning a medal but winning a gold medal here. Then you get to race day and you just think, oh God, it's like, I hope we can go as fast again. I always hoped, believed we'd go faster on the day than what we went in training, obviously just because of the situation, as you guys know. And that was another thing as a kid. I'd always wondered, if I was put on the biggest stage in the world, could I deliver a world-class performance? And we found that out on the first day of the games, which was ace. So we're lucky we qualified. We were in the last qualifying ride against the current world champions, who was Karen Darke, an absolute legend in tandem racing. So when I knew we were racing against him in the last heat, I was just like, oh, this is game on. This is how it's meant to be. Biggest stage in world racing against the best in the world. What a perfect way to measure yourself. I didn't find it overwhelming. I was really excited by that kind of prospect. And we went out and smashed it. The world record was broken. Paralympic record went from London pretty early on in the qualifiers. Then I think 2 heats before ours, the Dutch bike who we raced in the final, they broke the world record, which I knew was going to happen. I knew it would go, and they rode the same time we rode in the holding camp. So it was just a case of us to kind of step up, and we did. So we win a second quicker again.
It seems like a total whirlwind to go from like 2.5 years out,
Yeah,
to not being on the team to then being on the top step there.
Yeah. It was
that must have been like quite an emotional high, I guess. But like,
yeah. Well, to be honest, it was in a way it wasn't. Like I thought, after we won the gold medal, I thought standing on the podium there would be like, oh, I'm going to cry and all that sort of stuff. But to be honest, I felt like I was going to throw up, which I'm sure you guys, we literally came straight off the podium, straight off the race, and went pretty much straight onto the podium. So it was pretty horrible. But I'm sure again, that sort of moment happened so quickly. You're just trying to process in your mind what the hell you've just done and try and take it in, and you're just getting pulled from here, there, and everywhere. And then, all of a sudden you just come out the other side of that and you got a gold medal and you got to go to anti-doping. So, it's it was surreal. Like, it didn't... I think the amazing thing, and my wife said it was actually after the qualifying ride, we broke a world record, and then you've got a medal. And that's the great thing about pursuiting, is that you're going away with a medal. So even if you lose, it doesn't. It's
amazing how quickly that. So I remember, like, as soon as you get into a semi-final, or no, I mean a major final in sprinting, and you've got guaranteed silver.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you get that, you're like, oh, good, I've got guaranteed silver, and then you're like, fuck it, I want the gold.
Yeah.
It lasts for like 20 sequends, and then you're just straight back on it, thinking like that's not good enough.
Well, mine lasted a bit longer than that, actually. I remember we left the velodrome and rode back to the village to get some food in between the qualifying and the final. I remember riding back thinking, I don't care, mate. I've achieved it. I remember saying to Adam, I don't care now. I've achieved everything I wanted to achieve. Really, I've come here. I've raced on the biggest stage in the world. I've beaten the best in the world. We've got a world record, and we've got a medal. So even if we win or lose, like I'm not bothered if the Dutch guys beat us tonight. And it wasn't until we were sat in those dreaded chairs before the start, when you're sat in your own thoughts. And our coach Dan Henchy, who's super super cool and relaxed and stuff, and his pre-race chat and the qualifiers was just basically, you know what to do, lads, go and do it. Simple, great, yep. Let's not get all emotional or any of that. Just, you know what you're doing, let's go and belt it out and do what you can do. And then I remember sitting in the chair for the final, and he was just going on and blah, 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 rabbiting. I just switched off, and he doesn't even remember what he was saying and stuff. I think he was more nervous than we were. But I remember sitting in that seat just going, you have to care. This could be the closest you ever get in your life to winning a gold medal. And you can't be just like blasé about it. Like, you have to go and, you got to back up that first ride. And we did. We just about broke our world record again. I think we're half a second off. Well, not even that. I think a few tenths off breaking that world record again. So it was.
So it couldn't have gone much better, really, I guess.
No, it was a dream ride, and what a start. We had 3 races to do, so it just took loads of pressure off the TT, off the road race, so we could just go into it.
So I think that's where it's slightly different. Where again, probably not when you get into the mix of the racing, but if you win a gold and then you've got a couple more events coming up, you're pretty content. I think at that point a little bit until you get in there. And then it kind of switches back again into that weird mentality of...
Yeah. I mean, I can remember sat before the TT, and we were sat on the balcony because that was outside the village. So we had a house...
Did you have your binoculars out on the balcony?
No, I didn't. No. They wouldn't help me, to be fair, anyway.
No, Aileen McGlynn's got a little telescope.
Has she?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I should borrow that off her.
Nah, she wouldn't let you have it.
No, probably not.
Not unless there's a profit in it.
So I think we were sat there chatting away, and all of a sudden it's like, right, it's an hour before your start time. We're like,
sorry, the thing we missed. You know the point of having binoculars on the balcony in the Olympic Village?
I can kind of work that one out. Yeah.
Okay. It wasn't just a suggestion for visually impaired people.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay, fine. Just to clear that up for the listeners then.
We just like kind of strolled down to the to the start place and warmed up, and it was literally like we were riding a Club 10, and rolled off the start ramp, and that was pretty horrible, to be fair. Like, we rode terribly, but we were the best of the terrible riders on that day, which is funny, because it was the complete polar opposite of the pursuit, which couldn't have been any more. Like, we nailed our splits, we were bang on, we did exactly what we were going to do pretty much in both rides. It couldn't have gone any better, like you said, and then went to the time trial, and it was just such a nightmare. And the last 3 or 4 miles, Adam was dying, we're into a headwind, and it was just like 35 or something degrees. It was just grim. You just think, I just want to get off this. And
how long was the time trial?
I can't even remember off the top of my head. 30 30k, 35k, 27k. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the walk in the park for these boys doing
Far-
the 24
far
hour
enough.
loads.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, in theory it is. Yeah, like I'm sure the shorter the event, the harder it gets, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
That's,
I'm a bit biased to that, but
yeah, yeah. But I think that, honestly that's reality. Like even Adam will say that about us. You know, about 100-mile TTs and stuff. You roll off the start line. It's all, you know, you're just kind of cruising.
Yeah, no, I guess.
Do you know like what kind of average power you hit in your 30k TTs or?
Yeah. So I probably at a guess hold around 375, 380 watts for probably about, I don't know. How long would that be? About 35 minutes or something like that?
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
At a guess.
Yeah.
And if any of my competitors are listening, it's 450 minutes. Keep training, boys.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's, as everyone knows, this podcast isn't particularly focused on the cycling, so we'll wind that up and move on to the more exciting projects you got on the go, because you're a guy with a few more strings to your bow than just riding a bike.
That's just age, mate.
Is it?
Yeah. When you boys get to 42, you'll have a few more strings as well.
Bloody hell, no. But yeah, so I guess we're kind of quite keen to know what your next project is. Like you've can you talk us through a few of the ones you've done in the past, like whether riding the length of Scotland in one day sounds pretty intense to start with.
Yeah, on 2 months off, that was last year. So Road Worlds were earlier than scheduled. Well, earlier than the normal scheduling. So I think our race season was done by kind of the end of August, and we weren't back on the track until kind of November time. So I saw that as a great opportunity to exploit being an athlete and not doing an awful lot.
Because I remember seeing that on Twitter, and I was just going like, "What are you doing? Like, just go to the beach, just have a little time off." You know,
freezing cold, yeah.
Because I think that's the thing. I think maybe that's why Phil and I are both sprinters, and you're into the ultra endurance. Is just that I like what pushes you to do something like that, to do the like riding through the night, cold, wet. Your gooches in pieces.
Wonder myself sometimes. No,
Yeah.
I think for that was always going to be a bit of a tester to a much bigger kind of picture, bigger challenge. So it was just a bit of dipping your toes in the water to see, you know, riding. Could I ride for that long, and what would my body do? What would it feel like? You
So
know,
it's a curiosity thing a little bit.
Yeah. It's you know, it's like you guys, when you want to do something, you want to do it well and you want to be successful at it. And obviously you don't just jump on a bike and go and ride a sub-minute kilo. It doesn't work like that, you know. And doing these ultra long distance things is exactly the same. It's, you know, you need to kind of map it out and have a bit of a plan and you know, to dabble when the media's not looking. Because this is the thing, everyone, you know, The Guardian once wrote about me. It's on my website, actually, because I find it quite entertaining. Is one thing you need to know about Bate is whatever he puts his mind to, he makes a success of it. And that's, like, couldn't be any further from the truth at all. You know, it's just generally the things the media show up to, I go pretty well at. Because I've failed so many times. I've failed so many times in the past. I've worked out how to actually succeed at it. And then, you know, like, you kind of make a success of it. So, yeah, it's a case of having a bit of a plan, and you know, this bigger thing that I'm working on is after Tokyo, so it's a long way. Well, I say a long way away. It's not that far away.
Comes quick.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a case of having a bit of a dabble, seeing what happens, maybe making some improvements, and to be honest, most of the stuff is making your body bulletproof. You know, which is, you sprinters know all about that in the gym and all the stuff you do there. So it's a case of making sure that your body's not going to give up on you, really. So yeah, go and ride through the night, see what happens. You know, and that could be, you know, I remember getting to about 5:30 in the morning through Balmoral in Scotland, lashing rain, freezing cold, and I started to kind of feel pretty sleepy, and you know, I literally thought, is this it? Is this all I've got in me? How pathetic, you know. I've been on my bike for not even 12 hours or something, and I'm already getting into a state, and I just realised actually I had way too many clothes on. I was getting too warm, and stopped and took a load of layers off, so I was starting to get a bit chilly again, and then I was wide awake again.
You must have been eating like all day, pretty much, like all the time.
Not loads really. It's a good excuse.
Phil's just trying to find an upside.
Yeah.
But so like if we go through like all your challenges, like, you know, whether it's been the Paralympics or anything, like what's been the toughest thing that you've attempted, would you say?
It's funny because I got asked after we won the gold medal about Adam will love this,
Okay.
I'm going to mention El Cap. He's so sick of hearing about it. So am I, to be honest. But I got asked what is harder, like climbing El Capitan or 3,000 foot vertical rock face, or a Paralympic medal. And as much as I want to say soloing a rock face, it's definitely a Paralympic medal, because that's not on your terms. You've got to jump through hoops, you've got to be selected, all that sort of stuff. Whereas climbing a rock face, you walk up to the bottom of it, and if you're good enough, you'll get to the top of it. So that's all on your terms.
And that's one that was in the Free Solo, the movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
And he did a solo without any
without
ropes
a
or
rope.
anything.
Yeah. So I did the same thing as he did, slightly differently, because I value my life. So I solo, but I climbed with a rope by myself. Climb with a rope. It took, I think I worked out, it took me longer to climb the first pitch of the route than it did for him to climb the whole thing.
Really?
Goes to show you like what an achievement that that really is, or how shit I am at climbing. Either way you can look at that. But in terms of if you put that in cycling terms, he's up there with the Redgraves and Chris and Jason and guys like that. Obviously he's it's just next level stuff. He's very, very.
It's like one mistake and he's dead. Falls down. Dead.
Yeah. But you see, for those of you who watch that film, and I got sick of getting messages from most of the cycling team going, "Oh my God, have you seen that film?" It's like, yeah, I've seen that film. Is that what you did? No.
Yes, but with a minor difference.
Yeah.
I watched Dawn War the other day on Netflix, and he was climbing on the same kind of mountain range. And what was the difference in that?
So that was Tommy Caldwell and I think Kevin Jurison, So what they did was they free climbed, which means basically they don't, exactly the way Alex Honnold was climbing, but with ropes. But they generally on what they call big walls, which is like El Cap, so anything over 1,000 meters I think is classed as a big wall. There's a technique called A climbing, which is where you can use bolts, rivets and fixed protection, and you can pull on those and stand in slings and all sorts of stuff to make progress. Free climbing is when you're just using solely your hands and your feet to gain height. And the amazing thing about what Tommy and Kevin did was that particular face, the Dawn Wall on El Cap, was unclimbed and deemed like unclimbable. It's so steep, it's not until really you go there and you stand below it and you just think like, Jesus Christ, it's like climbing up a mirror. There's no holds on it. It's just crazy. So in terms of the technicalities, like what they did was way harder than what Free Rider, the route that Alex Honnold did. But then in context, like Tommy and Kevin fell off hundreds and hundreds of times.
See it in the movie.
Which obviously Alex doesn't have the benefit of a rope and being able to do that. So,
have you ever had any like properly dicey moments
climbing?
Yeah.
I fell off El Cap twice while I was soloing it. But they were like, the first time wasn't a very big fall, and it was really funny. I fell off, and it was kind of like it all happened, so quickly. Kind of like if you fall off your bike or something, you're on the floor before you know it. And I remember thinking like, yeah, I'm a proper climber now, I've fallen off El Cap. The second one wasn't quite so glorious. I fell about 10 meters and ended up going head first down the wall, and that was kind of, am I going to stop at some point soon? So that, and I whacked my elbow pretty bad, and I remember thinking, you're in the middle of like a rock desert, and you can get rescued off by helicopter and stuff, but you don't really want to have that happen to you.
No, it's
so
expensive.
so it was a bit of a reminder of like, that was quite near the top of the wall. So I think I'd been going for probably 4.5 days then, and obviously starting to get either tired or complacent, one of the two. And
I guess that's what I mean about my question about what's harder, because obviously with climbing there's a pretty real threat that something could go wrong or you fall or really hurt yourself. With track cycling, especially like an individual pursuit, is really quite safe.
Yeah,
but
relative.
Relatively. Is that something? I guess that wasn't something that figured in your mind in terms of what was harder, because I appreciate it's out of your control, but from the other aspect, there's probably a bit more. Do you think there's a bit more adrenaline and a bit more fear involved in scaling
I think
a big wall?
And fear breeds adrenaline generally, and that's something you don't want as a climber. So you want to be calm and relaxed, and just kind of going through the moves without everyone thinks rock climbing's like this massive crazy adrenaline sport, and everyone's like, woo, yeah dude, and high fives and like back slaps and all that sort of stuff. But it's very calculated and very focused, which I think was great about free solo, as you saw how how Alex Honnold, he can pretty much tell you every hold on that route, and how he'd kind of mastered that. So it's not quite as kind of like base jumping and skydiving and like woo woo. You know, normally that's when it starts to get that's when you start shitting yourself because it's all gone horribly wrong.
He's had some studies done on himself in the hospital, and it actually doesn't excite him at all.
Oh, does it
climbing? No.
Yeah, there's something in his brain that
it's nothing gets
like
released.
a vertical angle missing.
Like it doesn't excite him. He's just calm, like we are here now.
Yeah, they do like a brain scan, don't they? And they put loads of images in front of his face, which for normal people, you know, would be like
send him into sweat or something.
Yeah, that kind of stimulates that part of the brain. Whereas for him, it was just like, nah. And they call him no big deal, like no big deal, Alex, because they're like everything to him is just like, yeah, whatever.
Like it's Jason Kenny.
yeah, pretty much.
Jason, you up for the Olympic final? Oh, like,
yeah,
okay, fine.
Yeah.
I guess I'll give it a shot.
I've seen on your
Great,
Instagram you're doing a lot of slacklining at the moment.
Yeah. So I've got back into slacklining, which is I haven't done it for a few years, and it's like anything when you put a skill down and don't use it for a few years, it definitely disappears from you. It's been nice. I think with just before Christmas, I really struggled with mentally about if I wanted to carry on or not cycling.
Yeah.
I kind of went through this process of if I go to Tokyo and I win a load more medals, is that going to make me a better person? Probably not. Is it going to make me more money? No, because it's para sport. There's never any money in it. Is it going to improve my profile? No. That's why I've come on PodCrash.
Come to the wrong place, mate.
So yeah, I started to wonder why I was putting myself through what we do every day, so I just wanted to do something that kind of was put my bike down, take myself completely away from riding and stuff, and yeah, it's worked really well. I can't start climbing again because my mentality is I'm a bit freakish when it comes to climbing. So especially on days like today, I wouldn't be riding my bike. I'd be dangling off a rock face somewhere because that's where I want to be. So slackline's are great. You know, it doesn't take very long to set up. So I just disappear in the woods over the back of my house and can kind of lose myself for 2 hours.
Disappear into the woods over the back of my house.
Sounds well dodgy with a long line. String it between a couple of trees and try and walk along it, which sounds really daft. But
so we talked quite a lot about successful Olympians, Paralympians maintaining the motivation after successful games, because I mean I'll admit I kind of struggled, and that's why I'm doing something else now. Was it really just as simple as mixing it up a bit with slacklining, or was there something else that's kept you going and kept pushing? Because it's not easy to push through, because I'm faced with the same questions all the time. It's like I could go again, but like what does that mean to me? Yeah. And I think for me and Caroline, my wife, it was always like, you know, it started as a 2.5-year project to get to the games, great, and then after that it was just going to be like done, good. And then, you know, it's like the year afters can be pretty relaxed. Adam and I chose to we had a year off the track or season off the track, and then chose to go back out on the road. We hadn't won a world title, which is kind of ironic. 2 Paralympic titles and stuff, and no world title. So that was always something that I wanted to achieve. Try being double Olympic medalist and no world title.
No, welcome to my world.
Oh man, sorry to bring that up. And then I think we went to South Africa in 2017, and we lost the time trial there on a course we won it in 2015, and that was through a mechanical. So our chain came off, snapped to the chain ring. We lost about 25 seconds, literally, as we rolled off the start ramp. And this is quite funny. Adam turned around and said, "Is there any point in carrying on?" And all I heard was "carrying on." So I was like, "Yeah, carry on." So we both got to started pedaling again, and we lost by 3 seconds. Oh. So that was pretty gutting, like funny, but gutting, because, you know, it's like you're standing on the podium watching the jersey get given to someone else when you know. And even the guy who was running the event from the UCI came over and apologised. You know, the great thing was everyone knew, the guys we raced against, everyone knew, you know, because the 2 guys we were on the podium with went off behind us. So they saw what happened, and they knew how long we were waiting, you know, trying to get the bike sorted for, and then what the margin was we lost. So they all knew. So yeah, it was a bit bittersweet, really. And then we had Track Worlds last year back on the Rio track, which was awesome. You know, to go back there, we liked the track. We knew it ran fast.
It's an amazing city as well.
It's
bonkers.
Yeah. We actually got to see some of it this time, because we didn't see any of it last time, because we raced the first and the last at the game, so there was no free time. So that was a real shame. But this time I thought you were
going to blame it on overhydration after your event or something.
No. And then so we went back there and won the World Title in Pursuit. And as soon as we won that, I thought actually it'd be really nice to have the world title in both pursuit and time trial, the same as what we've got Paralympic titles in, because no one's ever done that before in tandem. So then all of a sudden the focus became that summer to win that TT in Maniaga in Italy, which we did by, I think that was a 17 or 18 mile course, and we won by half a second, so it was pretty tight. So yeah, I think I'm in a pretty good place at the moment. Well, besides being injured, like mentally, I'm kind of pretty psyched. Like I'm really keen to get back to where fitness-wise we were for the games, and I know our pursuit record's there for the taking. You know, it's a shame I got ill at the Worlds this year and the track world, so that didn't really go to plan. So we lost our title there, which was rubbish. But yeah, certainly fired up and pretty keen to carry on. But yeah, it's nice just to have something else you can put the bike down, walk away from, and go and balance on a line in the woods.
Bit of headspace.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I think the thing I like about slacklining is it's very similar to climbing. Once you stand up on the line, once you leave the ground and climbing, you're very focused in that moment. You know, you can't think about anything else or else you just fall off, which I'm pretty good at. So, yeah. And there's also, that's, again, like I was saying, it's a bit of a dabble into, like, I really want to get into high lining, so taking slacklining up really high off the ground. So yeah, it's getting good enough to be able to walk, say, a 30-metre line consistently, to then go and walk over gaps, 1,000 metres up and stuff.
Still wear a safety harness.
Yeah. I'm not, although people may see it as like what I do is crazy and risky, it's, it's very calculated and it's pretty risk averse, really. I'm not into, I like living. I've made it to 42. I'd like to at least get another 42 years out of it. So yeah, I think, but that's a kind of common progression in slacklining is to start highlighting and just, you get some pretty incredible places. Like the advantage is I'm really shit at photography, but you go to such amazing places, you can take shit photos and they still look amazing. So,
Fair enough.
There you go. Follow me on Instagram for shit photos.
Kian Emadi's pretty good for shit photos, to be honest. So let's talk about when you're doing those rides at night in Scotland, or you're setting various individual challenges. I guess that's my question. So with Duggleby, obviously, he does the bike control and all that kind of stuff. But when you're riding solo, that must come with a real set of challenges. I remember when we pulled up here, you said, "I don't live in the city," because that would be suicidal, basically. Yeah.
So I'm pretty fortunate. So I guess to give people an idea listening, my eyesight is, I kind of have the easiest way to describe it's tunnel vision. So it's actually the best way to describe it is if you watch the beginning of a Bond film, and where you always seen about the barrel of the gun and Bond walks past and then shoots the gun and blood runs down. Yeah, that's basically what my vision's like. So I can see two dots with what most people would normally see as a full field of vision. I have no peripheral vision. But what I can see, I can still see really well. So anything I look at, I can see really well, but it takes me a while to focus on. So I'm still very fortunate where I can ride a solo at the moment, can ride a bike on my own. My eyesight's deteriorating, so it is getting worse. I probably will go blind because there's no cure for what I have. And that is kind of, I think for me as well, when I got diagnosed, that was, once I got my head around it, that was the missing piece of the puzzle. I needed to really think, fuck, it's like, I can't talk about doing these things and, climbing El Cap, trying to go to a games, trying to, high line, all these things now become, it's like we're all on a stopwatch, but for certain things, mine seems like it's ticking a bit quicker just because I might not be able to do them because I won't be able to see. So
did that gain a kind of new perspective, as in, obviously I'm quite an adventurous guy and I want to do a whole bunch of things, so let's get to it. Yeah,
exactly. And I think earlier when we were sort of saying about the bittersweet thing about cycling is that, there's all these things I want to do, but when I'm cycling, I still want to be committed to that and be the best in the world at that. So that's the kind of bittersweet part, if that makes sense. Like I really want to do other things, but I know the sport's so competitive, it's growing, it's getting, I don't think if we took a year out in 2017, we would have ever got back to the level we were at, just because the progression in the sport is happening so quick with parasport. So it's, which is awesome. There's more and more bikes, and, I think they've got a field of 27 or 30 tandems this week in Belgium, which is the same as what it was for the games, which, happens once in a lifetime, really. So it's great to see that happening, but, you have to be committed and you have to stay doing it. And, I can get away with slacklining because that's can be a quick hit and I can be back and, and it's not too stressful. Whereas, you can't just go and ride 300 miles and slot that into your training and it'll be fine. I said that. So I've just come back from riding from Lisbon to Malaga over 7 days. So it was about 700 miles over 7 days.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
I used it as a bit of a training camp. A lot of the guys after the track worlds went to Mallorca, got a villa and spent 2 weeks out there, and I just wasn't inspired to go back to Mallorca. Yeah, it's a lovely place and beautiful roads and stuff, but just riding, I've realised riding point to point is far more interesting to me than just riding in a loop somewhere and coming back to where you started. So yeah, I kind of chatted to a couple of mates and we came up with this idea of, hey, why don't we go, originally I was going to fly to Berlin and ride home, ride back to Rotterdam, catch the ferry across and be great. But in May, that far north still weather's a bit, or April it was, I think, the weather can still be a bit dicey. So we went south for a bit of sun.
Yeah, I saw your YouTube video you made about it the other day.
Yeah, just made that the other day. So that was pretty cool. That's the joy of being injured. You get time to do stuff like that. So
you've actually funded your own documentary, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You want to talk to us about it?
Yeah. So
or plug it, whatever you want.
Plug it, yeah.
Yeah. So a couple of years back, a guy named Chris Prescott of Dark Sky Media he's a climber, does lots of climbing films, worked with some of the best climbers in the world. Heard about my story on climbing El Cap and thought, hey, this would be an interesting story. So he got in contact about 3 months before the games. Said, hey, let's make a climbing film. And I'm like, I'm kind of busy, dude. Sorry. And we kept in touch. And then it was always trying to, instead of recreating, going back and soloing El Cap, it was always a case of trying to find something else that we could do to tell a story around effectively. And then I came up with this idea of, so I'm right into fat biking for those of you who know me. So yeah, it was a Arctic race basically at the top of Finland in the Arctic Circle, the self-supported bike race. I was like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about going and doing this race. Do you want to come and film that? And he's like, yeah, that sounds good. And he's like, where are we going to get the money from? I'm like, I don't know. You're the film guy. I ride bikes.
Filmmakers always do that. They get you lured into an idea, and then just when it's about to go, they're like, oh yeah, but we need some money.
Yeah, genius as
well.
Help us? Yeah. Can you pay our wages? Yeah, that's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah,
if you're listening, Chris, you know that's true. So we did a Kickstarter basically because we had no clue, and that was really badly organised, and we were terrible at that. Always have a plan when you go into doing these things. We didn't. But yeah, we got some money, which was great. So that was pretty amazing. And yeah, so Chris came out, filmed that event. He also had a bit of a DOS and came to Rio and filmed our track worlds. And then he's put together this film basically. He's also filmed my feet getting tattooed, which is pretty weird. He put together a bit of a 35 minutes, I think, a documentary basically on my life story and what's going on really. And it's all a bit dull.
And you can buy it online right now?
Yeah, you can get online, I think, from, I want to say realhouse.com. If you go on the Dark Sky Media website, I'm sure you'll find a link. Or actually go on my website and you'll find a link. That's how self-promoting I am. Yeah. So I think stevebatembe.com. There we go.
Perfect.
You'll get a link in a flash-up box there, and I think it's about £3 to watch.
Easy as.
Easy as, mate. Yeah, you did a bit of time in New Zealand, didn't you?
I have, yeah. Well, I kind of did the same as you with my brother, I guess. So went out there and was going to go and help him settle down, but we just ended up going on a tour around New Zealand, getting pissed, basically. Beautiful country. Beautiful.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know we're going way off topic here, but why do New Zealand houses not have central heating?
Don't need it.
No, they do.
Maybe in the South Island. No, it's
they desperately need it.
People have gas heaters and stuff like that, don't they? Or now I think they've got these things called heat pumps, on the wall type thing, but they don't have radiators.
They just pride themselves on being hard, and if you've got central heating, you're a bit of a wuss, and it's really fancy.
Well, they do lots of underfloor heating now, don't they? I think.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
That put me off.
Yeah, you're not a fan. Sorry, mate. I'd like to apologise for the whole of New Zealand.
Thank you.
They're really upset.
What are they teaching you guys at carpentry school? Honestly.
Yeah. Not how to put plumbing in. Anyway.
Just space for a heater would be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's finish. Obviously, people might not know this, but you've got some pretty massive body tattoos all over you.
Only you know that, mate.
I know that. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I've seen them here right now. Yeah.
I mean, usually I don't ask people about tattoos if they just got a sleeve, but you've got quite a lot of coverage now. It's quite extensive.
Pretty committed, yeah.
Yeah. What was the purpose behind going flat out for that kind of thing?
I think
So we're talking like entire thigh, both thighs.
It's basically from my just below my knees, like the main tattoo I've got, the Cook Island pear is what it's called, like tribal shorts. So it basically goes from below my knees to halfway up my back, pretty much, right over my butt and round the front. So yeah, it's a pretty big bit of work. I think it took about 85 hours in total. Jeez. Not in one time. I think I was working in the outdoors at that time, so I was doing a lot of surfing and stuff, so you can't go in the water after you've been tattooed, so summers were kind of written off, really, because of work. Funny how work gets in the way of everything, doesn't it?
What a pain.
And then, so yeah, it was winters, basically, so I was kind of doing 5 to 7 hour sessions of getting tattooed kind of every few months when I could afford it, and I've got a nice bit of artwork to show for it. So yeah, I think it was the I think if you don't have a tattoo and you want a tattoo, the biggest thing, like Kai White's good for this at the moment because he's getting a tattoo on his arm.
Okay.
And so I
was that his first? Oh.
Yeah. So I gave him a bit of fatherly advice. He didn't want it, but I gave it to him anyway. And he was going in to book it, and I said to him, ask the guy or girl if they've been tattooing for at least 10 years. And he said, why do I want to ask that? And I said, because if they haven't been tattooing for 10 years, you don't want to get tattooed by them. It's like, mate, this is going to be on your skin for the rest of your life.
It's like going to barber's college, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It might be free, but you don't really want it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tattoo's a bit more permanent than a haircut, isn't it? But I can understand you get ribbed for haircuts too. And he said, I'm not, he probably doesn't want me to say this, but he goes, I'm a bit worried it's going to be too painful. And it's like, you're a BMXer, mate. You smash yourself to pieces, you'll be absolutely fine. So, it's like the first 10 minutes of it's probably a bit uncomfortable, and it's just like anything else, like lactic acid in your legs. You just get used to that pain and you deal with it and stuff. But I think once you get a few tattoos, and certainly when you get tattooed in parts of your body we think that's going to be horrific, and you get through it, it kind of opens the floodgates to just thinking, well, I could get anything anywhere. And that's kind of, and again, I want to go through the process of getting something massive where you put out of your comfort zone, and for me, I learn about myself when I'm not in my comfort zone. When everything's nice and happy and great, it's like you're just coasting along in life. Whereas I think for me anyway, if I'm out there doing stuff and pushing myself and trying to break down barriers in my own mind or whatever, that's when I get to learn who I really am and what I'm like. And I think that's why I like to ride through the night. And, I want to go highlining because, there's going to be a point out on that highline where you're going to have to deal with falling off, and, there's a massive void below you. And that's when I think that's when you understand really who you really are. And that's where you find your real self without being a bit all hippie and stuff about it. But
no, I get that. It's kind of, a lot of people find themselves through adversity, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I guess
Vicky Williamson, I mean, that's an incredible story. It's just absolutely amazing. Sorry, I was going to say something really inappropriate there. Not about Vicky, but Kian. Sorry, mate. But yeah, I think that was the thing I was thinking about with my legs. Is obviously when you're getting tattooed, it's slightly uncomfortable, and to get tattooed for 7 hours non-stop, that's pretty mental. But it was a case of like, how am I going to respond to this, and am I going to be able to cope with it? It's not just a case of am I tough enough and I'm a hero because I got loads of tattoos. It's more of a case of went in and it's like, right, somehow I have to manage the session. I've got 7 hours to do. Getting my ass tattooed for 7 hours is not pleasant, and I wouldn't recommend anyone does it, but do it. But it's just like anything else. It's a process of trying to control your emotion stuff with your mind and be logical about things, and not kind of drift off and just be like, oh god, this is really bad and stuff, and just be like, actually I can deal with this. And so it's led to loads of artwork on my body, like getting my feet done. Everyone's like, oh, you don't want to get your feet tattooed because that's horrible, and it is,
which is a fair assumption,
but I got through it. Yeah.
You thinking of getting some tattoos on you?
Yeah, maybe, but it's probably going to be a bit like Kian Emadi, like until you take me there and put the cash down in front of the guy.
The earring thing, I heard.
Probably not going to happen. Yeah. But I guess like it sounds to me like you said the Guardian got you wrong in terms of like everything you set out tends to be a success. It seems like everything you set out to do is never by halves. Yeah,
I'm pretty committed. I think if good friends, close friends who knew me would say I'm very single-minded, which and I think that's right. That's why I can't climb while I'm riding a bike and stuff, because I think it will just just take. I have to be fully focused, fully committed on one thing, because I know that's how I get the best out of myself, and I can do the best in whatever I'm doing. Be fully committed to that. So yeah, it's kind of don't enjoy life, but don't, if you want to achieve something, don't spread yourself too thin. Commit to it, give it 100%, and if it comes off, it comes off. If it doesn't, move on.
Yeah, it's like you got to find your niche. I always find people who are competitive with everything really annoying. Like they flip the board at Monopoly, and then they'll also like cut someone up in traffic, or they'll do like everything is just super competitive. They have to be the best at everything, and then they kind of by default become successful at nothing.
Yeah.
You have to, if you're going to be really good at something, people don't just happen by chance, apart from Phil. You have to be really committed. You have to be like super, super committed. So I think that's a pretty good note to end on, unless you have any further. But can you tell us any more about this secret project after Tokyo, or is this under wraps for now?
No. So basically, Mr. Mark Beaumont, who I'm sure lots of you know, endurance cyclist, around the world record holder, has a record from Cairo to Cape Town. He wrote a book and broke the record from. He called it Africa Solo, I think. So he rode from Cairo to Cape Town, so just over 10,000 kilometres, and he did it in 41 days. And I'd like to go and give that a bash. So yeah, after Tokyo, that's kind of my next kind of bike project. I think after Tokyo, potentially the road side of things, I may kind of put on the back burner for a bit, and maybe just focus on the track, which would give me a bit of time in summer to go and do other things. Maybe try that for a bit. Hopefully no one from BC's listening. Yeah.
They haven't got this far.
Yeah.
They just listen for the controversial bit where I say I haven't given my bike back at the beginning, and that's it.
It's been stolen.
It's been stolen. Yeah. But I went and lied yesterday. But apart from that, it's been stolen again.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fine. Yeah. Damn bike. Yeah. You should get a lock.
I know. Yeah.
So that's going to be a bit of a project, but I've never done anything on the scale before, so just trying to launch that and sponsorship and all that sort of jazz. So there's, which is great because there's lots of new skills that I need to learn in terms of managing that and how that's going to work. And other than that, I'd love to write a book. That would be the next thing.
Okay, cool.
If I'm honest, I'm like not very intelligent. I didn't do very well at school, and I left at 16 to.
There's lots of good authors that didn't do very well at school.
Well, yeah, I know, but so that's another thing. I think after this endurance cycling thing kind of passes by, I'd like to challenge myself in another way, but not physical, so mental, because I've never really done that. So yeah, writing a book would be pretty cool.
Cool. All right, we wish you all the best with that.
I think that would be great. Yeah.
And so I can't wait to see how the whole Africa trip plans out.
Yeah, if anyone wants to sponsor the trip, contact Steve.
You've definitely got the support of the PodCrash, which I know goes a long way these days.
Well,
the first sponsor of the trip.
Yeah, there we go.
We'll have some talks.
Excellent.
We can't hand over anything physical, to be honest, but we can give you all the well wishes in the world.
You said you would be helping him.
Yeah. Can I borrow your bike? Yeah. Can I borrow your bike? If you've got it back by then.
If I can find it, you can borrow my Sorello.
Is that all right?
Yeah, I mean, it just comes and goes, I mean, it's all these burglars who just keep messing with me.
Yeah. It's the same like your car.
Well, no, the car's gone. That's gone for good. But every time I need to go on a cycle, I just find it and then put it back, and I've lost it again.
Right, on this note, I think we should end it.
It's mental.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks very much, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Right on.
Cheers. Tune in next week.